Alright, monopolistic competition. Now, monopoly and monopolistic competition are not the same thing. They are different. Do not think when you see monopolistic is the same thing as monopoly. Okay? Now, monopolistic competition, what you have are mini sellers. Alright, that's why it's not monopoly. You have mini sellers, and what they're selling is something similar. Alright? Something similar to everybody else. So they're selling something similar, but not identical. It's not the exact same thing. You can make minor modifications to it. You can change certain things about the product or certain features of that good. And because you can change the product, you can differentiate it, that means you can charge different prices for that good. Alright? Now, the reason I call it monopolistic is because whatever that little change is, or big change, you have monopoly over that change, right? That change is yours. You have monopoly on it, and so this is why they call it monopolistic competition. Yeah, I kind of wish they called it something else, but here we are. All right. So my favorite example of this is actually jeans, right? Blue jeans. All right, and the reason that I'm looking at this is that, well, aren't these very similar products no matter who sells them? All right, identical, no, but similar, yes. All right, if we're being honest with ourselves, then, yeah, all jeans are very similar, right? They're cotton denim that covers your legs. That's what they are. That's what they do. But, as we know, we can change jeans in all sorts of different ways. You can have different fits, right? You can have different rises at the waist, high rise, low rise. You can have different pockets. You can have, boot cut and straight cut and whatever cut, right? Different colors, different textures. You can do different things with the advertising image. You can put rips on them, right? So all this different stuff. You can change different things in lots of different ways about the jeans. And because a producer can do this, this means they can charge different prices for it, all right? And whatever it is, they can have a monopoly over that little change. For example, let's say they rip the jeans in a certain way. All right, they have monopoly over that particular rip pattern. So again, monopolistic competition, okay? And so they can charge different prices as a result. The way they do this is kind of interesting, by the way. Sometimes they just go at them with razors. To get a wear pattern, right, with some jeans, it looks like you've been wearing them for a long time. They use lasers, so they'll like hang the jeans up and a laser sweeps by and zaps out the color and the denim, the dye. All right, so it gives a particular wear pattern to it. It looks like you've worn them for several years. Or some of the jeans that have kind of a worn-in feel and texture to them. Yeah, they toss them into a big dryer with pumice stone. And it just spins around. It just basically beats up the denim for a little bit and makes it look like that and feel like that. All right, so monopolistic competition, you've got lots of firms, all right? So they're not marked by economies of scale like what you saw with monopolies. They don't have high startup costs. The barriers to entry are relatively low, which means you can have more firms and more competitors. Again, think of jeans, how many companies there are out there that make jeans. Okay, there are low barriers to entry. So there's not high startup costs, there's not high knowledge costs or things that you need to know in order to get into this particular market. Again, you want to start jeans, well, you got to learn how to make some and design some, and you can send them off to a factory somewhere, they'll make them for you, you can start selling them, and boom, you're in the jeans market. All right, pricey, a little bit to get into it, but it's not going to be like, I'm starting that bridge building business. Yeah, you have a little bit of control over price. Because you can change features of the product, that means you have a little bit of control over what that price is going to be. Now, not all jeans cost the same. So you get those, true religion jeans or whatever that cost a couple of $100, or you can get some Levi's, which are like, around 40 or 50, or you can get some, what's the Walmart stuff, Faded Glory or something like that, which is going to be around 30 or so, right? So you can have different prices for these products based on all sorts of different things, based on the changes within that product. All right? And the differentiation is going to be the big thing, right? Differentiate the product, which means different prices. Okay, so here are examples of places with monopolistic competition or markets with them: sandwich bars, hairdressing salons, bars and nightclubs. All right? And the way you can compete. So we always think of price as being the big way you can compete, but there are other ways also, and you see this a whole lot of monopolistic competition. So one of them is to something aesthetic, right? A new size, color, shape, texture, right? Taste. Right? So you change something about the product. You put people's names on the Coke bottles. All of a sudden people are going to buy the things, right? Or laptops. Laptops used to all look the same. They were big, ugly, plastic rectangular blocks. All right. Dell started doing a thing with the design studio where you could have these special designs. They even had designers make the covers, right, that could go on the laptops. And you could even pop them off, put different covers on there. The computer hadn't changed at all. It's the same old computer, but they're trying to convince people to buy the Dell instead of, say, an HP because, oh, hey, look, they look pretty, right? Or within computers, well, this one has more RAM or has a different hard drive or something like that, right? That again would be monopolistic competition characteristics of goods. All right, you can also do location of sale, where you're selling it. If you're in the middle of a desert, well, you could probably charge a higher price because you have less competition out there. That can also be based upon the local customer base. If you're selling the same thing in a richer part of town, you can charge more money for it because the richer part of town people will be willing to pay more money for it. Yep. You also have service level. Places that provide a greater level of service can typically charge higher prices. If you go to a sit-down restaurant, they will usually charge more money because they're offering more service, right? You got the waiter or waitress who's going to come and get you food. Why are we doing this now? Okay, now that we've pledged and all that stuff. Service levels, right? Restaurants are able to give you a higher level of service. They're able to charge more money. Or if you think about, say, Kohl's or a box clothing store compared to some sort of fancy boutique, right? Again, it's supposed to be a higher level of service, so different prices are going to be charged as a result. Yep. Oh, last one here, advertising image, right? Businesses work really hard to get this into your head. Whether it's going to be color, shapes. All right, for example, you go to the chip aisle, you want some Lay's. You don't even look down the aisle looking for the name Lay's. You look for the color, right? You're looking for that yellow bag. Or you want Doritos, you're looking for the red bag. They try to get this into your head. You might get some Sprite, you go to the soda aisle. You look for that green box or the green bottle. So this is all advertising image. And this is why some businesses are able to charge more simply because it has a name brand aspect to it, that you're willing to charge more, or pay more for it than what you would be for another product. And so we go back to those jeans. There's some really fancy jeans brands out there that charge just an obscene amount of money, but they're able to do it because they're fancy, I guess. Maybe they make your keister look great, I don't know, right? But a lot of it is because you'll notice the really expensive brands have that really big label on the back, right? And that really big label means that people can tell at a distance that you're wearing that fancy branded jeans. And that's kind of the point. You want people to know that you're wearing that fancy branded jeans and be jealous. Okay. So, all right. So prices and monopolists are going to be higher than what you will see in perfect or pure competition. Profits will be a little bit higher also. There's going to be a whole lot of variety of good. You're going to see more variety of good in monopolistic competition than what you will in other places. They do have some control over the price because they can differentiate the product, but it's not massive control. It's not like what you would see in oligopoly. And the barriers to entry are relatively low. All right, after this, we'll come back and we'll look at perfect competition.